So hi, welcome to Anchor Reviews. This is Tyler from Anchor Reviews.
And the Big Steve from the Big Steve on Instagram, YouTube, and TikTok now.
All right, and this is our review on Deadpool and Wolverine. It's a little bit late, but we've just been busy in that, and we finally got out to you guys. And it's been a long time since we've been a Deadpool movie, and this is a new one, of course. So in this one, we have Deadpool, played by Ryan Reynolds, is recruited by the TVA from the MCU to try to, save his timeline, and of course he needs an anchor, which of course is Wolverine, played by Hugh Jackman. However, this Wolverine is one from a different reality, and he's apparently the worst Wolverines out of all the other Wolverine characters in other timelines. And the two of them team up, and of course there's various funny things and various cameos sprinkled throughout. Now, before we get into our review and thoughts about this movie, what are your thoughts on the first two Deadpool movies?
So I overall enjoy all of them. I think 2 was the weakest just because it kind of bit off more than it could chew and didn't stick the landing all the way. The first one was good because it was an intro and it was simple enough, but I definitely wanted, I don't know, Deadpool has been kind of not a frontline character for the longest time in the comics. He, don't get me wrong, he's always been popular, but like he wasn't always in the front row. He was always just teasing around like a fourth wall breaking character. So I wanted to see like some of the really good villains from his rogues gallery that I still feel like even after all of these, it's like we've gotten a little bit, but it hasn't been. It's been more the interactions with the other characters in Marvel and the X-Men and things like that that have really let him shine. And I enjoy them for what they are. Deadpool is great, and Ryan Reynolds kills the role every time. Mm-hmm. The first two I think were a solid start, but I was very curious how 3 was going to be, and I'm sure we'll get to talking about that in a minute. What did you think, though?
So quickly, I'll say the first one's pretty solid, although the villain is kind of weakish in a way. I will say it is still one of the all-time best movie theater experiences I've ever had. It was a packed auditorium. It was virtually a laugh a minute. It was hilarious. We all loved it. It was great. I remember back in the day when we saw it. It's still a cherished memory of mine, at least one of my favorite movie theater experiences. Deadpool 2 is very messy story-wise, especially in structure and tone. And yeah, I just didn't like the whole thing of not just with the kid character, I remember his name. I just felt like he was not just the weakest actor in the movie, but also the fact that how he was written in the movie.
That speaks about it on its own, though, that it's kind of hard to remember the second one. Yeah, but the first we remember pretty well.
But anyway, back to what I was saying about Deadpool Wolverine, I have to say that not only is it much better than Deadpool 2, but I would say that this is probably my favorite, or at least the most enjoyable, of the 3 movies in that regard. And the thing is, I was just thinking about it because this is not the first time I watched it. This is actually my second viewing of it. I saw it like days ago, but I wanted to wait to review it with Steven. And I was just thinking about it. And this movie, I agree, it's thin on story, but it excels in entertainment value and character. And I know it sounds controversial for me to say this, but it's kind of like the musical Cats, where people say like, oh, there's no story or whatever. It's really thin on story, but it excels at, characters and entertainment value, because every song number is introducing a character that say like, oh, why they should win this thing and that. And it's similar to Deadpool and Wolverine, where I know the story is kind of muddy in places here and there for convenience sake, but it's very enjoyable. Highly recommend it. It's just a fun movie overall. But I'll let you give your 2 cents on it generally.
Yeah, I overall agree. I would say I kind of want to review the other 2 right after seeing this, just while it's fresh in my head. But my general perception is that this is the most fun of all of them. That I will definitely say. I guess a case could be made that in terms of traditional narrative structure, that the first may have still been the strongest. But I definitely think this will sit as probably my favorite, unless and until we get an even better one down the road. And also, I mean, just the way they brought Wolverine into it, and had so much fun with like the different iterations. We won't get into too many spoilers right off the bat, but it was great, and I feel like we have seen Wolverine in this film in a way that even in the X-Men films, he didn't get to shine like he did in the comics, and or even like the 90s cartoon. And in this film, we got it, finally. They did not have any holds barred. They just let him loose. And it was great to see the Deadpool we know with the Wolverine we've known from prior source material finally in live action. So that was a lot of fun. And I'm sure we'll get into spoilers pretty quick, but Tyler and I were laughing probably every 30 to 45 seconds, it felt like. There may have been a couple areas where, just story beats were happening, but man, it was a hoot.
Oh yeah, and the thing is, one of the things I thought was one of the funniest moments in the entire thing, or at least has an amazing way to open, is the opening credits. And not only do I like it when movies nowadays have an opening credit scene, because you rarely see that anymore, but this has to be one of my all-time favorite opening credits in any movie. I'm going to spoil this because you've probably seen it already, the memes and that. But basically, it's Deadpool desecrating the skeleton corpse of Wolverine from Logan, killing members of the TVA with the adamantium bones, while dancing to the NSYNC song Bye Bye Bye.
It was so funny and so good. Like, just you could tell Ryan Reynolds in that role was having the time of his life, and the audience just felt it. It was great.
Yeah, I remember the first time I watched it, I was just laughing so hard. I almost cried how hard I was in laughing. It was just so great and perfect. And then there's this whole joke about, like, there are 206 bones in the human body. 207 when I'm watching Gossip Girl. And that's a reference to the actor's wife, Blake Lively, who was on the original Gossip Girl. But I gotta say, when I'm watching the reboot of Gossip Girl, the one that gives me the extra bone is Emily Lynn.
There we go.
Anyway, I digress.
Put your number on screen, Tyler, just in case she's watching.
No, this is like, everyone else is gonna see the number, so that's stupid. But yeah, I'm not. It's like, oh, put your social security number on screen and your email, like, bank account numbers.
Deadpool and Wolverine can save the world, but we just need your credit card number. And
And then, of course, there was another part that made me laugh pretty hard, is when they're fighting inside this car, and then we pan down to, like, the bumper sticker that says coexist. Like, oof, the irony.
Yeah. No, that was really great.
Yeah, I never liked those bumper stickers. Every time I see those bumper stickers, I think of Benny from The Mummy when he's just fumbling through those religious medallions, saying various prayers because he has no principles. He's just saying whatever just to save his own skin. Every time I see someone with a bumper sticker driving around, I'm like, you're basically Benny from The Mummy.
No, I definitely thought it was very ironic, and just the whole movie was such a hoot the whole way through. Yeah, I'm sure we'll get talking about, like, I don't know how much we're going to spoil, but I will say that, like, of the villains we've had so far, this was probably the best. I think it still felt a little Marvel-y, where it was just like...
Yeah, MCU-ish.
This character is bad because they have to be bad, and that's it, so that's fine. And I would have liked something a little closer to home, with Deadpool maybe, like from his rogues gallery that was important. But that being said, I mean, these are... We know what we're in for these movies, and at the same time, it's like expecting too much seriousness from Deadpool is like, what are you doing? Like, come on, Deadpool's just a walking, laughing carnival show of the genre. So it's great.
Yeah, I mean, we should just get into spoilers right now because it's hard to review the movie without spoiling stuff. So that's where this part won't be spoiled. But anyway, there's a lot of great cameo appearances. We've got a nice bait and switch with Chris Evans. We think, oh, it's going to be Captain America. But then it turns out to be the Human Torch version of the character. Also, it was cool to see Julia Gardner as Elektra, which I know that's one of your girlfriends, Steven.
Oh yeah, she's bae. She's boo.
Yeah, and then of course we had Wesley Snipes as Blade, which was pretty cool to see him back. And of course, it was nice to see a more comic book accurate version of Gambit, of course, played by Channing Tatum.
It reminded me so much of his, I think, 22 Jump Street. My name Jeff. Like,
yeah. The thing about Channing Tatum is like I don't think people bring this up enough, but Channing Tatum is great in comedy. He's actually very funny.
He is.
I'm surprised they don't cast him in more comedies because he's a very funny guy. At least he can deliver jokes pretty well. It's kind of like with Emilia Clarke, where I don't like it they keep casting her in these like action related roles, and she's great in like romantic comedy related stuff. And I mean, when it comes to like the romantic comedy movies themselves, say what you want about them, but I think she's best suited for romantic comedies where she really thrives in that. And with Channing Tatum, I think he's great when it comes to comedy. Maybe not so much action, but more so like comedy in a way.
Absolutely. No, I completely agree. He's great and should be in more, especially. That was one of my big takeaways.
Yeah, I'd love to see him and the other characters in this one back for maybe another crossover event, maybe Avengers Secret Wars, whatever they do with that part. But also, of course, to see Daphne Keane as reprising her role as X-23 in this movie.
She has been, like, not to be too bogus, but she has caked up since the last time we saw her. Man, like, she has definitely matured. But
yeah, puberty was very kind to her, but I looked up how tall she is now. She's like 4'11", but I don't know. I think maybe the upper half of her body stunted her growth or something. But
no, but she was also great. There were just lots of great moments and cameos. The army of Deadpools.
With Blake Lively playing Lady Pool.
Yes. Oh, gosh, there were just so many. We got... Oh, how about freaking Henry Cavill as a Wolverine variant? That was so great. And my jaw was on the floor for that one. That was just like, they actually went there.
Yeah, that was funny. But the moments that I went like, oh, that's so cool was the cameos from Wesley Snipes and... the appearances of Wesley Snipes and Channing Tatum. Mm-hmm. And one cameo appearance that I think a lot of people missed because of that fight scene with Deadpool and Wolverine versus a bunch of Deadpool variants was if you look on the bus when they're fighting, there's an advertisement on the side of the bus that has Stan Lee on it as his cameo appearance, like a post-human, whatever you want to call it, cameo appearance. It was very funny, and I pointed out to Steven, and I noticed it when I first saw it in theaters. I don't know how many people spotted it, but I liked, seeing that they're at least trying to get Stan Lee cameos in a way, and I wasn't expecting the Hogan character to be in it, and I noticed various things in The Office with references to other movies in the MCU, whether it be that, spinny, like, desk thing from Iron Man 2 that was in the background. We had also Captain America's Unfinished Shield from Iron Man 2, and also the Agent Coulson's Captain America cards from the Avengers.
And Iron Man's proof Tony has a heart, on the desk. That was a very good reference. Yeah,
I mean, also one thing I noticed when they were showing that montage of various Avengers, when they're showing that shot of the iconic shot from like the first movie when they're like going around the characters, I noticed that they cut before they showed Black Widow, because that would be a conflict of interest and awkward since Ryan Reynolds and Scarlett Johansson were once married and of course they're exes. So, and of course he was like, yeah, I don't want to see my ex-wife on screen or something.
You're saying she's his ex-man?
Oh, ex-man. No, I mean, he would be her ex-man.
Fair, yep.
Yeah, there was even a misgender joke in the movie, too. Like,
there was. They just went to town on everyone and anticipated every single criticism ahead of time and just, like a ninja, struck it down perfectly with humor. It was a hoot.
Yeah, but some of the things I remember was different about our experiences was that I went to this really nice theater when I saw it the first time around, but there was this a few spots away from me. It was a little distracting. I don't know, there was some like drama between the two of them. Like, I don't know, their credit card got like declined or something, or some issue, and somebody had to come in some food and apologize. Some of the workers, there's like some issues. So, and then some idiot, of course, is on their phone just for like a brief amount, and that only like a brief part in the middle of the movie. But yeah, I mean, other than that, it was fine. But compared to when we saw it this time, I felt sorry for Steven, for the guy sitting next to him. But I'll let Steven explain this one.
Yeah, so I've never quite experienced anything like this in my entire life, and it wasn't. I mean, it could have been like the person stank or was like, projectile vomiting. That didn't happen, but it was still pretty weird. This guy, even during the previews and then during points of the movie, would make like a mime a rifle, or like a little movie projector square, and like jazz hands, where he would just like be sending this very ADHD energy in towards the screen. And I noticed at first because he was just thrashing right next to me, and I could feel it in my seat and just see in my peripheral vision these hands lunging towards the screen. And I was just like, Tyler, look at this guy. This guy is like LARPing in the seat. It's ridiculous.
I guess you got upgraded free to 4DX.
Yeah, exactly right. We got the interpretive dance segment.
Or the, what's that one, D-Box? Yeah, the seat moves around.
Oh, yeah.
You got that for free.
No, that was certainly interesting. He's. I think we need to bring that guy along now. That's our Peter.
Oh no! What could happen? It could be like Joaquin Phoenix Joker type.
True, that is true. In which case, we're lucky to have made it out alive.
Yeah, remember we went to go see the first Joker movie, and some a-hole was like kicked the door loud when going in and out of the auditorium at the time when people were worried that there was going to be some shooting at the theater.
Mm-hmm.
And you comment about that cop looked like he hadn't moved since the 1990s.
Yeah.
I even made an edgy meme at the time when it said when you go to see Joker in opening weekend and didn't get shot, it shows Mushu from Mulan.
Yep.
Yeah, in fact, I think it was like Frozen 2. There was a stabbing in the UK during a screening of Frozen 2. When people were saying, like, yeah, I mean, Frozen 2 is more violent than Joker.
When can we get these at, like, some of the problem movies? Like, I don't know, Fast and the Furious?
Or live-action Disney remake.
Yes. No, not actually condoning violence, but, like, that it's interesting where it shows up. It's not remotely predictable places. So, anyways.
Yeah, we're going off a wild tangent here. Go back to this thing. But yes, it was, again, nice to see these cameo appearances. And yeah, it's a fun movie. And I do have my criticism of the fact that, another thing I notice, a problem I have with this movie, which is a cliche I've noticed from movies in recent years, whether it be The Fall Guy or The Batman, is that it has that cliche double climax where you think that, this is the climax of the movie. But no, we got another climax and kind of stretches it out a bit too much, and I don't like that in what's been going on in movies recently with that. Mm-hmm. It's a trend I've noticed with some mainstream movies. I'm like, just have a climax, just stick with one climax, not this whole like fake out thing. Just have one climax. I mean, the story kind of made sense. I mean, it was better than The Batman, which the second climax felt very forced and mandated by the studio in a way, but with this one, it was just a very fun movie. And yeah, it was great to see Hugh Jackman's Wolverine in his comic book accurate costume. And yes, I mean, I would say he easily steals the show in this movie with his acting. And it was a great performance when he was like spilling his guts about how he let his team down. Like he was too drunk to help him out. And yeah, it was some of Hugh Jackman's best acting, at least when it comes to him playing the Wolverine character.
I will say, though, that one thing in thinking about it, they showed so much in this film, and they even went out of their way to, like, show that the villain can physically see the memories of the people that she's trying to control or get in their mind. And yet we didn't see any of the aftermath. They talk about how their bodies were just piled up like sticks. And it's like, it would have been good, I think, to show that as opposed to just tell it. But, I mean, that's the only thing I felt like they really didn't show versus tell. And, I mean, it was forgivable. It's just, that was one thing in retrospect where it's like, it's kind of weird that they went out of their way to show that she can do these things and then just didn't do it in a very important example.
I mean, I see that. I think part of it is they want to leave it to the imagination of the audience, because there's that rule of like show don't tell in a way, or at least maybe it's better to just let the characters describe things. Maybe it might be too graphic for audiences. I was going to say that. I know it's a rated R movie, but at the same time it's like, well, maybe some things are better not to show, or maybe be tasteful about it. Because I know there was this, I don't know if you've seen this Last Voyage of the Demeter movie, but there was a character death that I felt like was way too gratuitous and just bad taste without spoiling the movie. If you've seen my review on Last Voyage of the Demeter or another video I made about it, you know what I'm talking about. But as you were saying, Stephen?
Yeah, I was just going to say, like, I would generally get that, but not in this case specifically because they went out of their way previously with the character to show that she can see all of it. So why couldn't we see arguably the most important memory in the entire thing? That was definitely a bit of a missed opportunity, I think. And also, I just like Deadpool in particular, I just don't buy that there's this moment of dignity in that by a villain, nonetheless. So, like, I get it. I don't... It seems out of character and out of... It doesn't seem proper for the rest of the film. They could have very easily, if that was the intent, just, like, made it so maybe she can't touch his skull because it's made of adamantium. You know, that would have been a way to, like, get out of it. I thought that would have been, fairly predictable. But they went all the way out of their way to, like, prove she can see it every time. We see montages. We didn't in this primary example, and she could do it. But, I mean, it's not a super worthwhile point that drags down the whole film. It's just kind of a why did they make that choice sort of thing.
I see what you're getting at. But you're talking about it was like a miss, but I was thinking about, like, what did miss? All his Deadpools with Nice Pool. The version of Ryan Reynolds as Deadpool, but with, everything's all fine with him, but he doesn't have his healing factor. And he's using him as like a human shield from the bullets coming at him. And during that moment, I jokingly said that, well, still better than the Secret Service.
He did, and that was a hoot. That was a real hoot. This was a real fun movie with a lot of edgy jokes. I saw a counter that this has, I think, the most F-bombs, I'm not sure of any movie, but like at least of all the Deadpool movies.
Yeah, I think, I know at one point Goodfellas had the record, or maybe it still does, I'm not so sure. But anyway, Steven, what would you give Deadpool and Wolverine?
So I really enjoyed this film. I think it was probably overall the best time. Maybe narratively, you could argue that the first, in terms of like objective filmmaking standards of ABC, cut out story structure, that maybe that was more by the book proper. But I'll be damned if I wouldn't say that this is still the funniest and also the best overall piece of entertainment that they've released of it so far. I'm not a huge fan of, honestly, many, if any, of the spin-off Marvel shows. Then even that includes Loki. I know I'll probably get some boos and hisses about that, but still bringing them in some capacity was fine. I also, I don't think we talked about it, but they took the opportunity to take a crap and look directly in the face and point at Marvel and Disney and say, multiverse stuff is dumb. Stop it. Like, I think that was very good, and I hope that basically we're coming to a close with that whole arc for obvious reasons, because they really are. They have been struggling aside from this film. So I will say that the overall experience was great. The performances, especially of the big two that we're here to see, they were phenomenal. And I couldn't ask for a much better experience other than maybe just someone next time from Deadpool's Rogue Gallery that's more prominent. And, just minor consistency things about superpowers. But that all being said, I would probably score this film between an 89 and a 91%. It's like edging on A. But I can see I've got to be principled about the story structure. So, I think that's a fair grade, somewhere in that grounds.
All right. Well, personally, I wanted to finish what you were saying about that, or at least follow up from the whole thing. We admitted that, the MCU has been a rough patch recently. And Nice Pool's like, I think it's still been great since Endgame.
Yeah.
No, I love that taking that shot of the normies and what we called those people who shill from the MCU.
Marvel Dick Riders, you mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
We all know one, but
yeah,
both metaphorically and literally.
Oh, I know several. Yeah, I think we both know several.
Or specifically one.
Yeah. Well, yes, there's one prominent, but
back to my final review of this thing, or at least rating. And yes, I do agree that the story may be not the best, but you know what? It was a fun movie. The characters are great, especially Hugh Jackman's acting. And it's just a fun time just watching it and seeing all these characters come back for their cameo appearance, not just cameo appearances, but reprising their roles, and seeing various, especially Channing Tatum as Gambit. It was nice to finally see his version of the character on screen, especially with a very comic book accurate look to his character, and the way he's throwing the playing cards was great. I think it was just missing that cool sound effect from the 1990s X-Men animated series. But yeah, I really enjoyed this movie a lot, and I highly recommend it if you haven't seen it yet. But still, it's a movie I'm kind of debating even now about what the exact rating I would give it, at least a first impression review of it, or rating. So as for Deadpool and Wolverine, I would give it about between 3 and 3.5 stars out of 4.
Yeah, I think that's completely fair, and we're kind of on that same wavelength. It's it's edging. Is it very good, or is it great? It's just teetering on that edge.
Yeah, at the very least, I would say this is the one of the trilogy of Deadpool movies, this is the one that I've enjoyed the most. I mean, you could argue the first one maybe has a better story and structure to it. This one is the funnest of the movies, and it's definitely the most entertaining of the trilogy of movies, and easily one of the best movies in the MCU to come out in recent years, I would say.
It's true. I also, I have made this totally pseudoscientific term, but I stand by that a lot of people default to the first being the best because it's your initial experience. I call it the virgin viewer experience.
Yeah,
and I think that very often that can be slanted, but it's an understandable human response. So I definitely agree. 3 right now is definitely the most entertaining.
Oh yeah, most certainly. So anyway, this is Tyler from Anchor Reviews.
And Steven from the Big Steve YouTube channel, Facebook, Facebook, Instagram, and now TikTok. Yes, I'm one of those.
And we hope you enjoyed this video on After the Credits on Anchor Reviews. And we hope to make a lot more in the future. Please like and subscribe, bubs.